Looks like we're live again. And this time we're actually live with audio. So I want to explain something. You know, earlier I went live. I went live, and for some odd reason, didn't have a microphone at all. We had all kinds of different problems. So we're going to go back through what we're making today. It's Super Bowl Sunday. I think blue glasses. I'm going to explain this tripod soup that we're making. First, let me take the lid off and let's stir it up, okay? So we've got a tripod soup that's rolling here today. This giant pot soup is 15 quarts. And size stock pot. It's pretty big. Earlier, we started the soup that I like to call kitchen sink soup. The reason I call it that is because it kind of contains everything but the kitchen sink. What I did was I cleaned out the fridge. Well, since the vegetables were ready yesterday, and we got some vegetables that were, well, let's just say discounted. We're going to expire a couple days, and we put it in here. So let's talk about why I make a soup like this. The reason I make this much soup about twice a month is I have something to eat at lunch. So I'm constantly eating my vegetables. Sometimes I give it to my friends and family. If I don't have time to cook it there, it's ready to go. But when you make a lot of soup like this, you have to properly preserve it so it doesn't spoil before it gets eaten. Okay? So I let this cook for 3 to 5 hours. It'll cook down and I'll get 12 or 13 quarts of soup. And once it's boiling like this, I'll put it into a mason jar, just like this. And the boiling soup in the mason jar, once I screw the top on it, it'll self-seal itself as it cools. Once it cools, I can put it in the fridge, and I can keep that up to 6 months. So I'm going to have about a dozen stock pot that I can keep up to 6 months. I've also always got 3 or 4 different kinds of soup in the fridge to give to friends, to give to family, all that kind of stuff. The other reason, though, is that I don't know of any other way that you can feed so many people for so many meals is something like this, and here's why. First of all, the meat in here is chicken, okay? I have cut up an entire chicken. Now, I'm a big fan of buying a whole chicken because it's not cut up. You have to cut it up yourself. But it's cheaper than buying one that is cut up, and you get all the parts. You get 2 wings, you get 2 drumsticks, 2 thighs, 2 breasts. It's good for something like this. I got that half off. Every day the butcher at the store takes the things that need to be sold in a day or two and he discounts them. At my supermarket, usually half off. So a $12 whole chicken became $6. So I bought an entire chicken for $6. Now the vegetables that are in here, boy, there's a lot of vegetables in here this week. So we started off with about 6 carrots, maybe 2 bell peppers, some small peppers, a red onion, a Vidalia onion, some green onion, some garlic. But I also had some discounted produce I bought at the store. 3 yellow squash, 2 zucchini, got maybe 4 potatoes in here. But the reason that I don't use any stock, I don't use beef stock, when I make something like this, I don't use vegetable stock, I don't use chicken stock, because I don't need it. What I've got in here for stock is about 2 to 4 quarts of water, but I put that in at the end. The main base of this soup is the tomato. And I put in maybe 3 or 4 different kinds of tomatoes. I bought 4 beefsteak tomatoes that were clearance for $1, 8 Roma tomatoes that were clearance for $1. Some more came in a box. Maybe, I don't know, 18 tomatoes. Chopped them all up, put them in here. Got some broccoli and some beans and some other things in here as well. But once I got the chicken and the vegetables in here, I had some liquid from the tomatoes up to about here, and another maybe 4 quarts of water all the way within an inch of the top. The reason I do that is I'm going to let this simmer on the stove, now at a rolling boil, for 3 to 5 hours. In about another hour, I'm going to fish this chicken out of here. I'm going to throw away the skin. It's going to drop right off the bone. I'm going to chop it up and put it back in. Sometimes I add pasta in this. Sometimes I add beans, kidney beans, pinto beans, black beans. I don't have any today. There's 4 potatoes in here. But this kitchen sink soup, again, for about $12, I'm going to have 12 quarts of soup, and you'll keep the fish up to 6 months. Just going to let it simmer. at the cost of maybe $12. If you got any questions about, soup, why I make soup, making your own soup, suggestions, all that kind of stuff, drop them down there in the comments, and hopefully I'll see it. We're using some new software today, right? We're using OBS, and we're streaming with Restream, and we're streaming live right now on YouTube, as well as streaming on TikTok. So hopefully everything is going well, and I could see when somebody asks me a question. I did want to go over today. Here on the screen. I will say I've got quite a few vinegars now, and I've got quite a few videos on making homemade vinegar. I've received a lot of questions, so I'll try to answer a couple as we go here today, and we'll talk about some of the things that we did earlier today too. So check out my videos on TikTok or on YouTube about making vinegar, specifically the one why make vinegar. Because making homemade vinegar is something that you can do that's cheap, low cost, effective, and has a flavor like nothing you've ever bought from the store. As a matter of fact, you've probably seen vinegar at the store like apple cider vinegar and white distilled vinegar. And you may have even seen some vinegars that were infused with a flavor, okay? But I have to tell you, I've never seen anything like a mango vinegar or a pineapple vinegar in the store. And even if I did, it was probably going to be something that was infused. These are live, unfiltered, raw vinegars with probiotics, the same as having, probiotic yogurt and things like that that are really good for your gut health. You can't buy something like that that's non-pasteurized from the store. But I've never seen strawberry banana vinegar before. Now, as soon as I made this, I drank it right over ice. Oh my God, was it so good. And I've actually made a few mixed drinks and cocktails with it. It's really good for that. I haven't made a salad dressing with it just yet, but I think I probably will. And you could make a sauce for a stir fry, or put, in a pot roast, maybe one of the flavor vinegars as well. They're good for all those kinds of things. But making vinegars and getting comments from different people made me start thinking about something I hadn't done just yet, and that's vegetable vinegars, okay? You can make vinegar from anything. Any fruit, any vegetable, any wood, any grain, anything you can imagine. You can put it in a jar with some water and you can ferment it and you can make a homemade vinegar. But what we're looking for is a raw and filtered vinegar that not only has good probiotic things to help your gut health, but also things that have, intense flavor that are really, really good. Something you can't buy from the store. I heard somebody say, hey, I've made vinegar from tomatoes. And it was so intense and it was so good, and I used it in my soups and other things and salad dressings. It was incredible. So today we started our first tomato-based vinegar. And based on a comment from somebody else too, I actually put a tablespoon of garlic in there. Why not? Tomato-infused garlic vinegar. In about 3 weeks, we're going to have a tomato-based vinegar with incredible flavor, and we're going to feature some dishes that we make with it. If you want to know a little more about making, this kind of vinegar on your counter at home in about 3 weeks, watch my video, Why Make Vinegar. So I'm going to talk a little more about homemade vinegars while I do a little maintenance here today. Every single day, I take care of the vinegars that I have on the counter rather. And what that means is, this is a homemade vinegar that I started making from black grapes. I figured, wine vinegar is really good, but why not make one from black grapes? So this is water. This is water with about half of a jar of fruit. The first day after I put the water and fruit in here, I add about a third cup of sugar. And then every day I stir these up to prevent mold and such. It's been about 10 days. When you see bubbles like this, what's happening is the fruit and the sugar are fermenting and they're turning into alcohol. That's the first stage of making a vinegar, is turning this mixture into an alcohol. Okay? And then, about the 10-14 day mark, I put a little bit of raw unfiltered vinegar that I've made, one of the other ones, a little bit of mother, which means that little coagulated part at the bottom. When we see a vinegar like this, you see the liquid at the top, the stuff in the bottom is what we call the mother. That's the part that grows and converts, and you can put that into vinegars to keep making it. That's why in the beginning, when I didn't have any mothers, I just put some raw unfiltered apple cider vinegar in here, and it takes this alcohol after it's fermented about 10-14 days, turns it into vinegar, something that removes the sugar. Okay, this particular vinegar something I made about a week ago as well. It was kind of strange because it's pomegranate, orange, and lemon and lime. I have to tell you, it smells incredible. It really does. But every day I stir these homemade vinegars. It takes me about 3 weeks to make a new one. And the third half-gallon jar that I have over here, I believe is pineapple and blueberry. Made some pineapple vinegar, but this time I wanted to add some blueberry. I'm a big fan of making homemade vinegar, kind of mixing the flavors. Again, people always ask, what are you going to do with weird flavor vinegar like that? And I'll tell you once again, you can drink it, you can put it in a cocktail, you can drink it over ice. You can take oil and make a vinaigrette salad dressing out of it. You can make stir-fry sauce. There's all kinds of things. You can Google online how to use flavored vinegar, watch some of my videos, come up with your own ideas. Okay, so we've got 3 half-gallon jars of homemade vinegar that'll be ready in about 10 to 14 more days. And I'm going to talk about the big batch of vinegar that I made earlier today with my largest jar. So one of the first vinegars we made was blueberry vinegar. We drank it in 48 hours, and it was really good. And I made a homemade wine jar once before. This is a giant ball jar from the 70s that they used to have pickles in and stuff. It's a 5-gallon glass jar. You can see how big it is. Oh my God, it's got 2.5 gallons of liquid in it right now. But what I did when I went to the vegetable market yesterday is I bought 8 pints of blueberries for $8, right? They were pretty cheap. And then, I blended them up in the blender until they were in like a slurry, and I dumped that in here. And I filled this up about halfway, 2.5 gallons, with water. And then tomorrow I'll put about 2.5 cups of sugar in here, and it'll start to ferment. And again, in about 3 weeks I'll have vinegar. We'll filter everything out, we'll bottle it. This blueberry vinegar, again, salad dressing, sauces. We were drinking it straight, which is why I made a big batch. I'll probably make some bigger batches in the future. Got a lot of homemade vinegars going on. I'd be curious from hearing from anybody out there about what kind of homemade vinegar you have made or thinking about making. If you see my videos, love to hear from people and what they're doing. Gives me new ideas. That's how I got the idea to make homemade tomato vinegar with garlic in it. We'll track the progress of that and make some future dishes with it. And talk to me about the soups and dishes that you're making. Sorry, the earlier live didn't work out as well as we thought that it would. Like I said, I went live and didn't have the microphone working and had no idea. We got a better handle on that and using some different software today, so hopefully we'll be able to go live a little more frequently. I hope you have a great Super